Hi everybody, my name is Sean Ellithorpe. Thank you for taking a moment to watch my presentation. Specifically, I'm going to be going over my capstone project proposal, which is focusing on increasing efficiency in ultrasound workflows. This is going to really directly relate to my workplace at Evergreen Health Medical Center in Kirkland. So let's start with the project overview. Currently at the ultrasound department at Evergreen, for every exam that we do, we write up a handwritten worksheet and then we fax that along with some other patient data to the radiologist to be read, along with the images. Now this allows a lot of room for error. It takes a lot of time, both from the sonographer standpoint to re-record data from the images onto a worksheet, and then we rely on technology from the 1980s, a fax machine, to send that to the radiologist. And so a lot of times those faxes will get lost. They'll be low quality when they come across, and there really is a need for change there because there's a lot of room for error, and we're not talking about just small little details here. We're talking about stuff that really is going to affect patient outcomes when it comes to measurements and things that are going to be dictated into a final report. So the need for the change has really been established just because of the time and the efficiency standpoints of our current workflow. One of the big parts of my project will be building a case of supporting evidence showing why we need that change. And some of those things will be talking to sonographers, recording the average time it takes for them to write up a report and write up a worksheet, talking to radiologists, how much time it takes for them to actually dictate exam, and if they're happy or not with the worksheets that come through via fax. There's a lot of things that we can go through, and some specifics as well. We can find patient examples where a dictation has been incorrect and it actually has affected the patient's outcome. So those are big deals. Again, not just small details, but things that can really affect real patients. So what I'm trying to do with my project is to implement a new system. And what would happen with this system is measurements that are taken on the ultrasound exam will automatically transfer to a digital worksheet. One, that will take away the time it takes for the sonographer to write down those measurements and findings. Two, it'll get rid of the fax machine because we won't have to scan in and fax a paper document since it'll all be digital. And three, it will also make the measurements have a smaller room for error during that transition process. So instead of just rewriting each one, that measurement will automatically come across, minimizing room for error. And even a better part of this situation, or the solution, is that those measurements will also translate into the radiologist's dictation. So the radiologist will no longer have to look at a list of measurements, in some cases which can be 50 measurements or more per exam, and dictate those manually. They'll automatically transfer and they can just read away. So there's a lot of efficiency and safety aspects of this that are really positive. So the desired outcome of all of this would be to implement a new system. Specifically, we're looking at one called GE Viewpoint that can do this. And then we'd like to see an increase in efficiency, a decrease in errors for all parties involved. So that will mean that Evergreen and their ultrasound department, and then also the radiologist reading service, which is actually outside of Evergreen. They're called Teleradia. But they can also see an increase in efficiency with their readings, which we all know in healthcare, efficiency is very important. Now, how this kind of ties into my personal goals, really it applies directly to my workplace. So this is really cool because I think it shows some initiative on my end. It's applying to something that I'm really involved in. It's showing that I'm invested in my workplace, and those are really good things. I think it also completes my educational goals. This is the final step to my bachelor's degree, and so to have something that can complete both my educational and personal workplace goals is really cool. And like I mentioned, it shows commitment to my workplace, which I believe is important because eventually I'd like to move up into more management position there. And I think showing that there's initiative and that I'm committed to Evergreen will give me a better path to management. Thinking specifically of prior classes that I've taken that have really, had a hand in this. The first thing that comes to mind is RAIM 301, Essentials of Imaging and Therapy. And this class went through all of the different modalities and their basics. And, I'd really like to see this process, not just with ultrasound, but really applied to all other modalities throughout Evergreen, because there's a lot of faxing that's still happening in other modalities. And while ultrasound is one of the ones that's a little more paperwork heavy, this could definitely be applied to other modalities. So I think the knowledge of the modalities and knowing how they function at a foundational level is really important. Another class that was really instrumental in thinking of this project was the finance and accounting for healthcare managers. And the main reason is because this project brings in a new system, which is going to be a new cost. And so knowledge about how the operational budget works, how the capital budget works, kind of helps bring, a little bit of reality and kind of sets my expectations in a relatively good level. Mainly because, this project might take more time than this coming quarter would allow. So this might not be completed by the time I graduate, but at least I know that it's still something that can happen in the future, and I can set up a good process, a good pathway for it to all go through. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.